Taken me a long time to figure out exactly what I wanted to do with my life. And I figured it out. I want to spend it with you.
All right, y'all. We seriously need to talk because things just took a major turn. Jim Jones has been arrested, and this isn't one of those situations that's going to quietly disappear. From what's being reported so far, this could be a life-changing moment for him. Now I know some of you are probably asking, wait, Jim Jones? What did he even do? And honestly, you're not alone, because the charges being mentioned are intense. We're talking about racketeering, money, laundering, and even possible links to some serious criminal figures. Let's start with the racketeering part. If you don't know, racketeering usually means involvement in organized crime. It can include things like fraud, illegal business operations, and sometimes even violence. So if Jim is being charged with that, it means the authorities believe he wasn't just nearby. He might have actually been running or helping manage criminal activity. This isn't completely out of the blue either. Back in 2019, Jim's name came up during the Tekashi 6699 trial. When Tekashi testified, he mentioned Jim and his possible connection to the 9 Trey Gangsta Bloods. Jim never directly addressed those claims, but people on the internet went wild trying to figure out if he was really involved or if it was just street drama gone too far. But racketeering isn't the only thing he's facing. Money laundering is on the table too, and that's a big deal. Jim has dipped into a lot of ventures over the years. Clothing brands, real estate, and even crypto. Now people are wondering if all those businesses were above board, or if the feds think he was hiding dirty money in plain sight. Because one thing's for sure, the government doesn't play when it comes to money.
Back seat was rapper Jim Jones, who's 41 years old and his real name is Joseph Jones. The deputy says when he pulled behind the car on the interstate, quote, he noticed the smell of marijuana. He told me by telephone it was so strong he smelled it before he even noticed the car weaving down the road. And when he pulled alongside it, he says front seat passenger Darnell Wright turned on the interior dome light.
All right, listen. When the feds come knocking, it's never random. They don't just show up out of nowhere. Word on the street is that federal agents have been watching Jim Jones for over a year. That's right. This wasn't some quick decision. It sounds like they were quietly building a case behind the scenes, using wiretaps and secret recordings to gather evidence. And if history is any guide, when the feds come with proof, it usually means they're serious. But here's where it gets even messier. Some people are convinced this whole thing was a setup. There's talk that someone close to Jim might have turned on him and started cooperating with the government. In big investigations like this, it's common for someone on the inside to switch sides. And let's be real, if they've got enough information to charge him with racketeering and money laundering, they didn't just make guesses. Somebody was definitely talking. And this isn't Jim's first run-in with trouble. Back in 2018, he got arrested in Georgia after a high-speed chase. Police found some illegal stuff in his car, but he managed to take a plea deal and walk away without a long sentence. This time, though, things look more serious. The federal court system doesn't hand out deals as easily as the state courts do. Now let's talk about Chrissy. Fans were waiting for her to speak up after the news broke. At first, she stayed quiet, but behind the scenes, she was working overtime. Sources say she's trying to figure out what's really happening and how to help Jim through it. Eventually, she made a subtle post online, talking about standing by loved ones through hard times. Some people took that as a clear message. She's standing by her man, no matter what.
Learning new details tonight about the arrest of rapper Jim Jones in Coweta County this week. Deputies say Jones was a passenger in a car that led police on a brief chase Wednesday night. And when deputies stopped the car, they say they found drugs inside.
Let's be honest. Every time a rapper gets arrested, the first thing people ask is, who told? Because in the hip-hop world, especially when it comes to RICO charges, it usually means somebody close to the situation gave the feds information. And in Jim Jones's case, A lot of folks are saying he never even saw it coming. See, the feds don't just grab someone without serious evidence. When they come with RICO charges, they bring wiretaps, hidden recordings, financial records, and often someone on the inside working with them. This isn't new either. Look at the Tekashi 6699 situation. He was caught up in the 9 Trey case, and when the pressure hit, he flipped. He testified against his crew, and while his co-defendants got hit with long sentences, Tekashi walked out with way less time. Same thing with Alpo Martinez, a big name in the drug game back in the day. He turned informant when things got tough. Jim's name has been floating around these kinds of circles for a while now. Back when Tekashi testified, he actually named Jim as being connected to the 9 Trey gang. Jim never said anything about those claims, but it definitely had people wondering. And now with this arrest, the big question is, did someone in his own circle give him up? Now let's talk about the money, because that's where the feds really focus. Jim has had his hands in all kinds of business: real estate, fashion, even crypto. On the outside, it all looks legit. But the feds don't just look at appearances, they follow the money trail. Real estate, in particular, can be used to clean dirty money, and if anything didn't line up with Jim's income or taxes, that would have raised red flags. Even if Jim wasn't directly doing anything shady, being connected to someone already under investigation could have put him in the crosshairs. That's often how the feds start building a case. They find strange money movement, start watching phone calls and texts, and piece things together from there. And if they find a link between cash and criminal activity, that's when the real trouble begins.
As all 4 inside were eventually taken into custody, rapper Jim Jones, Darnell Wright, Jamal Smith, and Anna Miles. Deputies say all 4 are being charged with drug possession. The men are being charged with possession of a firearm and the commission of a crime. Deputies say they found a stolen handgun in the backseat where they say Jones and Jamal Smith were sitting.
This is where things really start to get complicated. When one person gets caught up in something big, especially with the feds, they don't just stop there. They start looking at everyone around them. And let's be real, Jim Jones has a lot of connections in the music world. So naturally, people are asking, who else might be in trouble? We have to talk about Dipset. Jim is one of the main members, along with Cameron, Jules Santana, and Freaky Zeke. That group has always had a certain image, gritty, street-connected, and raw. Their music often talks about life in the streets, and some of them have already had run-ins with the law. Remember when Jules Santana got arrested at the airport in 2018 for having a gun in his bag? Even though that case wasn't related to Jim's current situation, it shows that authorities have kept tabs on Dipset before. But it doesn't stop there. Jim has worked with some of the biggest names in hip-hop: Jay-Z, Lil Wayne, Meek Mill, Rick Ross, and more. And let's not forget, when the feds start investigating someone, they usually follow the trail. If Jim did anything shady, they're going to look at who he's done business with, who he talks to, and where the money goes. Now, let's talk about his mugshot. When that photo came out, people were expecting him to look upset, nervous, or at least caught off guard. But no, Jim looked calm, almost like he was expecting it. That really had folks talking. Most people in that situation look either angry or scared, but Jim looked like he was already prepared. Maybe he knew this was coming. If the feds had been watching him for over a year, he probably had a feeling they'd make a move eventually. There's also the chance he's just trying to stay strong in public. Jim isn't just a rapper, he's a street icon. Showing weakness could hurt his image. But here's the real question. Is he really that confident? Or is it just a front? Because if the feds truly have strong proof, no amount of tough looks or calm faces is going to change what's ahead.
According to TMZ, rapper Jim Jones has been arrested in Coweta County. According to their report, they say Jones was in the back seat of a car that Coweta County deputies pulled over after a chase. Jones was arrested on possession of drugs and a handgun. In the report, sheriff's deputies say when they tried to pull the car over, they took off and a chase started. According to TMZ's report, during that chase, the car struck a deputy's vehicle and then finally stopped. Jones and 3 other people were inside of that car. After a search, deputies say they found marijuana, oxycodone, Percocet, as well as other drugs. They also tell us they found 2 loaded pistols and cash.
All right, here's the big question everyone's asking. Is Jim Jones going down for this, or is he about to make a major comeback? Let's be honest, sometimes people beat these kinds of cases, and sometimes they don't. Right now, there are 3 ways this could play out. First, he could take a plea deal. A lot of celebrities facing serious charges end up doing this. If the government has strong proof, Jim might agree to a deal to avoid a long sentence. It's a way to do less time without going through the stress of a trial. Second, he could take the case to court. If Jim and his legal team feel like they've got a real shot, they might fight it all the way. But that's a big gamble. If he loses in trial, the punishment could be way worse. Third, this might be bigger than just Jim. If the authorities believe he's part of a larger group, more people could be brought in. The case could turn into something much larger, with even more names dragged into the spotlight. And what about Chrissy? She's always had Jim's back. She hasn't said much yet, but fans are watching closely. Will she stay strong if things get worse? We'll just have to wait and see.